Letter 19. So letter 19 starts off with Screwtape talking to Wormwood about how Screwtape has inadvertently fallen into a heresy. Now, heresy is false teaching, so for the demons, falling into a false teaching would then have made it a true teaching because everything is flipped. And the false teaching that Screwtape fell into has to do with love. So in the last letter, it was all about love and how love is a contradiction. It can't really exist because, right, of that philosophy that demons have, right? So one self is one self, one thing is one thing, and love makes another self for someone else. And so since love is a contradiction, God cannot really love humans according to the demons, right? There's no way that God can actually be as concerned for us as he would be for himself. And so this is the heresy that Screwtape fell into. He talks about how God's talk about loving humans is impossible. There's no way that God can truly love us. There must be some other motive that God has, right? It must be disguised for something else. He must have a real motive for creating them and taking so much trouble about them, right? He actually cites this as the reason for the fallout between our father below, Lucifer, or Satan, because he couldn't accept that God truly loved humans. He said, "Tell me what your plan is. There must have been something else." And the enemy gave no reply. God gave no reply except to produce the cock and bull story about disinterested love, which he has been circulating ever since. Then, so demons think there is some secret reason why God created humans and cares about them. So it says in here that they've been trying to figure out what it was, and no one's been able to yet, but they hope that there's more complicated theories, fuller and fuller research, collections of data, and that there'll be like progress. Eventually they will find it out. It says, members of his faction, of God's faction, have frequently admitted that if we ever came to understand what he means by love, the war would be over and we should re-enter heaven. So really, to just kind of break this down, demons don't understand love and they can't understand love. And even for us as humans, if we take some time to think about like true, authentic, disinterested love, it is, and it should be kind of mind-blowing and seem like something that's not really possible, that someone else could love you more than themselves, that someone would want what's best for you, even at the expense of what's good for them. And there's countless examples in books and movies and whatnot. One of my favorite is in Les Miserables. I read that book for my senior thesis. If you've seen the movie or the play, it's the same story. But the hardest part is that Javert, this police officer, French, is trying to capture this man, Jean Valjean, and it consumes his whole life, and he tracks him down throughout France and all these different places. And ultimately, at the end, Jean Valjean gets this opportunity. He has Javert, this person who's hunted him his whole life, and he has a gun, and he has an opportunity to kill him and to take revenge on Javert for kind of ruining his life more than one time. And he doesn't. He forgives him, and Javert can't handle that forgiveness. He can't accept it. It's too mind-blowing. It doesn't make sense to him, and he ultimately struggles with it so much that he takes his own life. And my biggest thing is I just think it's so sad, that like what we read in this letter and what we can see that some humans they're not able to accept and to understand that like someone actually does love them and cares about them, and love is like self-sacrificial, and for us, we just finished Lent and the Triduum, the holy day, that the God of the universe would become human and die on a cross for you, right? This is something that is mind-blowing, and that it should be hard for us to accept, because it doesn't make sense. There's no reason, like, that I haven't done anything to deserve God becoming human and dying for me. I've sinned and I've let him down in so many different ways, and so many, constant examples, and yet he loves me, and he's always willing to forgive me. So this is kind of the mind-blowing love that the demons can't handle, and they don't think it's true. They don't think it's real. They think it's a guise for something else. So getting back to the text, God does truly love humans, right? But love doesn't make sense since it is pure gift, right? We know that God loves us, even when it doesn't really make sense. The last part of this letter talks about how the demons don't really care what state we're in. It says, whether I regard being in love as a desirable state for humans or not, but really it doesn't matter. They just want us to get caught in words, in the jargon, to discuss ideas as relativistic. This is my opinion or your opinion, good or bad. There's no answer. One of the quotes at the end, which really stood out to me, he says, "Nothing matters at all except the tendency of a given state of mind in given circumstances to move a particular patient at a particular moment nearer to the enemy or nearer to us." So just basically this idea that we're always growing, we're always changing, and either we're growing closer to God or we're growing kind of farther away from him. And so that's kind of what this letter ends on, that Satan, Screwtape, Wormwood don't really care what the patient's doing as long as he's moving ever closer to them instead of ever closer to God.